Yeah.
Welcome, folks. Welcome, welcome. Just give us a second to settle in. It's another busy day, just the two of us again, because I figured I'd been sending out a lot of invites for the holiday. Let me just my webcam a little bit there, get a little extra in the center. I figured I'd keep it simple for the holiday, Keep it that we got just the two of us again, at least for this year. Next year, hopefully, we'll get some more guests for it. We'll find out.
We could make it if we try.
We could make it with each other. So, hello everyone. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It's another exciting week where we're going to talk about some of the news stories for this week, and then we're running right into the year-end review for tabletop role-playing games, because we're part of our tabletop year-end. If you missed last week, we talked about Magic the Gathering and board games. So anyway, let's just dive into the docket for today, and before we then move into the year-end review. The docket for the news stories is Pathfinder scenarios, their society scenarios, a couple more to come out. I do want to talk about a little bit about planar adventures. Then I want to move into Pathfinder has partnered to have online tabletop role-playing. I want to talk about that a little bit, because that's kind of an interesting one. That they've got a virtual tabletop they're setting up themselves. That's kind of neat. And then they have a little bit of preview for Bestiary 5, and I want to talk about bestiaries and monster manuals just a little bit. And then we're going to dive straight into the part 2 of our tabletop year in review, where we're going to talk all about the various role-playing material that came out over the course of the year, maybe a little bit about our own adventures in role-playing. As game masters, I'll talk about that in our Stories from the Table, my year of game mastering. I think Joe, unfortunately, didn't really have any game mastering, so he's not going to have a lot to discuss about this, but still. And then we'll move into Sage and Game Advice. Remember, if you have any questions you want to ask for Sage Game Advice, you can always leave it in the comments. I will, of course, check our Yahoo email, discussingtabletop@yahoo.com, to see if anybody left a message there before the end of the time, and we'll see what we have to set up. It's gonna be fun. That's not a helpful message yet. Anyway, so why don't we start off with, of course, Pathfinder scenarios that have come out, the Pathfinder Society scenarios. 2 more have come out, and they are part of a multiple-part series, 3-part campaigns for a number of levels. So they're little small mini Pathfinder Society campaigns, which are all about you being part of the Pathfinder Society. I don't do a lot of Pathfinder Society stuff, confession time, but I do think it's pretty interesting. So the question is, I want to talk about a little bit, well, not really the question. Both of these seem to focus around planar travel. One of them is talking about visiting the floating metropolis in the Dracovin Empire, and the other is talking about visiting the city of Brass in the Plane of Fire. These are really neat, the planar travels. So my discussion for topic with relating to this was, well, what kind of do you really like planar travel adventures? I, for one, find them interesting. We've had some good ones in the past with our sort of planes hopping. We've gone to other planes in some other adventures, but I don't know if we've dived into it as much as, let's say, other people have. What do you think about this?
I love planar travel. One of my fondest games, it wasn't with you guys, but was a planes hopping game that we were in the city of Sigil. Sigil is awesome. Yeah, Sigil is a place that I haven't done a lot of playing in, that I think is very interesting. Yeah, it's basically almost like the hub of the multiverse. It's a city in the middle of all the different, planes. And that was our home base in that game, and allowed us to go to lots of different planes and experience lots of different things. Plus, just the city of Sigil itself is very diverse and interesting.
And we've had some good other planes hopping games. I've experienced with when we were doing Dungeons and Dragons sliders. We were doing the sliders, it was weird, but it was fun.
Yes. Sliders.
Where we were trying to figure out who was Rembrandt Brown. I don't even remember who it was.
I don't remember who any of us were, comparatively in the universe to sliders. That was a while ago, but yes. But I mean, we've had a lot of interesting adventures with other planes, like you freezing a level of hell.
Things related to the levels, to different planes, come up a lot more than you'd think, and adventures in them have been very enjoyable. And I find these interesting little scenarios that are basically adventuring in the planes. And you know what? I think it's definitely a cool thing that they're kind of putting together with that one. You don't get as much planar travels in like long adventures, I think, or published adventures. It seems like you don't. That
you normally find them more in homebrews.
Yes. So that's a very interesting thing, that it definitely has a feeling of putting that in there, which is something that, yeah, you get in homebrews, but not in published stuff. Not at least as much. I don't know if I've seen a lot of them. At higher level adventures, sometimes you get occasionally these planar adventures, but it just doesn't show it as much. So
yeah, and you don't have to be high level adventure to go to other planes.
It's true. Granted, it helps for some of them, but
oh yeah, some planes you definitely don't want to visit if you're a level 1. But just like any other plane, there are, various degrees of challenges.
Yep. All right. Yeah, so this is going to be a fun one. I think these are interesting little scenarios. Something in my eye. Sorry. Okay, we're good.
Oh, he's blinded.
I'm blinded by like I guess one of my own eyelashes or something. But no, this is an interesting little scenarios. I definitely like it a lot. It's going to be fun. And apologize to anybody that was hoping to get some Magic news or any Magic discussion this week. We had a lot of Magic-based discussion last week, and there's like no news in Magic the Gathering this week. So it's all RPGs at the tabletop.
Yes.
So yeah, so I would recommend checking those out, definitely, in case if you really want to try some planar adventures that are published by someone and get an idea about it. And I've been talking about the planes in my videos, so that's been a very fun thing, especially in my 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons ones. But let's just move on to the other bits of news. I did want to talk about Paizo's partnered with 2 groups, D20 Pro and Fantasy Grounds, to bring the Pathfinder role-playing game virtual tabletop, basically content. So, like, we've begun, especially for my new Spelljamming adventure, Treasure of the Lost Legion, we were playing around, learning Roll D20, which is an amazing app that I've seen a lot of people use, especially if you want to like put maps online or show people's rolls and things like that. That you're not. I mean, granted, you can play online with people and roll things out. Like right now, we could totally do tabletop role playing between the two of us. I could basically describe the scenario. You could roll the die. You could tell me what you get. I could roll the die. I could say what happens.
And we did that for the introductory for my character. Because we hadn't gotten everything set up on
Roll D20
yet.
And granted,
so yeah, you can do that. We've done that with players who can't physically make it.
No,
but this adds another level to the play. Everyone can see the roll instead of having to move the camera to your roll or just say what it is. And you can move your token around. You have more of a live experience than you do just playing without it.
Now, the thing about this, which I find very different from just, say, Roll D20, which you have to sort of put maps into, build your own maps, things like that. This appears to have all the content built into what they're setting up. They're working with these two, so it's going to include artwork, maps, all the stories, both adventure modules and adventure paths, and full access to a lot of their information, I guess, with whatever format they're putting together for this virtual tabletop. Because they're just they put together the deal, they're setting it up now, because I'll keep everybody informed when they finally put everything together and have it uploaded. So I'm interested to see, will it be maybe subscription-based, or something like that?
Right, like with Roll D20, you can get pre-made maps and specialty stuff, but you have to pay for it then.
Yes, which, I mean, is an option. So I think that's very interesting. So maybe it might also be you get a product code when you purchase something, or anything you purchase through Paizo, you can get a product code for, or if you get a book,
right?
Maybe then you'd have access from now on. I don't know about what it means to when stuff you already had, I don't know what it means for that or anything.
We'll have to wait and see if they do things like that, or if it's like some other online stuff like Magic Online, where it doesn't matter what you have in the real world, it only matters what you have in the digital world when you're playing digitally.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they end up with this entire thing and put it together.
I would think that they would do some kind of code like that, just because Paizo seems to be more willing to share freely information, where Wizards of the Coast want you to pay all the time. Which, I mean, business models, yes, you make a lot more money when you get people to pay.
Well, Wizards does some things too which are okay. I mean, they provide the Unearthed Arcana, which is free, and they have the DM's Guild, I think it is, where you can sign up for it and share information. So they have done some things, but I don't think it's quite like...
It's not as open source as what Pathfinder started out and still continues to be.
Yeah, that's true. I mean...
That's been more my point, that not that Wizards doesn't do stuff like that, it's just less frequent than what Paizo does.
Yeah, I mean, the D20 PSFRD is still the greatest source for information, even though they technically are unaffiliated with Paizo, because...
Paizo still kind of lets them do stuff and works with them a little bit, at least.
Yeah, I mean, they took a step away because they're like, we're not going to use your direct, sort of copyrighted names because we have ads on the site and have to sell things to keep it going, so I think that made sense, but it's also sort of like, yeah...
But they're still willing to have stuff out there. They're not going to try to shut them down or something. Like, if someone did that for Wizards, I don't know how well that would fly.
Yeah, that's true. That's a tough one to say how Wizards would react. They react differently in different circumstances, and have been known to be good and bad at that kind of reactions.
Well, you got to remember, too, Paizo, compared to Wizards, because they've been bought out several times, Paizo is more a smaller company.
Well, Wizards was really what? Wizards bought out a bunch of stuff, and then they were purchased by Hasbro, and they've been Hasbro since.
Yeah. Well, I thought Wizards was also bought, or maybe Wizards bought Magic, or Wizards bought D&D, and then they
bought TSR.
TSR, and then they got bought out by Hasbro. And so I think Hasbro, being the company that they are, they're not as free range as what Paizo will do.
No, that's true, because they are under this purview of what Hasbro is.
Right, which is understandable. I mean, you're going to have different companies that have different methods, and they definitely want to make their money on it, and that's understandable to be a successful company.
Very true. So it's definitely very interesting what's going on with that. So, next up, I do want to talk about Bestiaries. Bestiary 6 they're coming out with for Paizo. Alright, so I love a good monster manual. I do have to admit to that. Over all the years, I've loved a good monster manual. I enjoyed the 5th edition monster manual. Probably has to be not my favorite overall, but one of my favorites. It's my favorites for the way they portray the monsters, but not all the information. I think information has to go back to the 2nd edition AD&D monster manual. Had the best, it broke down combat, habitat and habitat, society, and ecology for all the monsters. It was really cool. They've sort of done that with 5th edition. I mean, Paizo does some decent things with their monster manual, or I'm sorry, Bestiaries. But I mean, it's 6 books. I mean, Pathfinder has been going strong for a while.
Yeah.
And all we know from the small preview, because they're coming out with it soon, is that they're going to have their own version of Krampus because of the holidays.
Krampus.
Yes. Murdering children, putting them in bags, etc., etc. Horrible monster.
What's wrong with any of that?
Gosh, I don't know.
Maybe they asked to be murdered. You don't know.
Maybe they were bad children who deserved it. Totally deserved it. We don't know. We haven't asked them directly.
We'd have to have a seance to do so.
That's true. They're totally dead. God, no. I think it's sort of like, because I remember third edition, and third edition, they scraped the barrel at a point in time. They really felt like, even in Bestiary 2 or Monster Manual 2 for third edition, it felt like they were scraping the barrel. What we always make fun of Cloaked Ape, wasn't that Bestiary 2? Because
I think so.
We're like, what about the top hat ape and the monocle
ape?
Yes. I mean, I understood the monster. It was just like a like supernatural magical beast, and it had like cloaked skin it could glide with. That was really what it was. But it was just such a silly idea of a cloaked ape that it got us started on the entire thing.
You know what I want?
What?
A grape ape.
That's true. They probably have one.
Grape ape.
But so, like, I don't know if they went past Monster Manual 4 for that one, though.
I am not sure off the top of my head.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know how many Monster Manuals they did in that one. Third edition ended up with 5.
Okay.
Technically, they put out third edition. They did Monster Manual 2 and the Fiend Folio, and then 3.5 came out, and they had the 3.5 version of that, and then did Monster Manuals 3, 4, and 5. Fourth edition had 3 Monster Manuals, and fifth edition only has the 1.
Well, fifth edition's still also relatively new.
Oh, that's true. I mean,
and fourth edition wasn't overly popular.
Well, fourth edition did go on for a number of years. It did have its popularity. And we've had that discussion before about what we think about fourth edition that, you know, had its good and bad points.
I don't think it was as popular as 3.5 was, the previous edition.
That's true. That I do agree on that. And there was 2 monster manuals for first edition, second edition Dungeons & Dragons, and a monster compendium for second edition Dungeons & Dragons.
For advanced.
Yeah, and a monster manual. I think I own the compendium. I don't know if I own the monster manual for that one. That's kind of odd. And there was only 1 in the first edition, which has really silly pictures on it. I'm sorry, the first edition monster manual is just kind of silly.
Hey, that's where we got flumps.
It's got a troll, a unicorn, a dragon, a centaur, and I think that's a really badly done owlbear.
Do they walk into a bar?
Probably.
Or a tavern, I should say.
Also probably. I mean, it really is just... I have to look at this cover better. Yeah, I think that's supposed to be a roper, but it's really hard to tell because it's like they have it upside down. And you know, I'm sorry, the art is just not great. Like, if I can only figure out a way to share this with folks.
I'm bringing it up. Oh God.
Give me a second here.
Oh God. The dragon on the one for advanced D&D is horribly cartoonish.
Yeah, let me just share this picture. It's probably going to pop up over all of us for a second here. But
no. I'm going to disappear.
I know. Hey, give me a second here. Hey, I got it on the edit scene. Let's there we go. Sort of pop up over us. It's a little terrible, but you can see the owlbear down in the corner there, and the I'm just gonna put this over top of you. But
that's advanced D&D one. Yeah, so I was just looking at online too.
Yeah, you can see the owlbear over top of, like, that little owlbear down the corner. Let's zoom into that thing.
Oh God, that looks horrible. Why does it have that long of a beak?
I don't know. Anyway, that goes away now. But that was fun. That was
the dragon is so cartoonish though.
Oh, its entirely thing is cartoonish. I had
what
to show
the heck was in the bottom right corner?
I think that's supposed to be a roper.
Okay. It looks like an amoeba with tentacles.
That's what a roper really looks like. And yeah, that's an owlbear. I found like an thing where they've got the picture, that like a black and white version of that picture next to owlbear. Man, first edition. Woo!
Yeah. Thank God artwork has gotten better over the years.
I guess they did what they could do. I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, that was early D&D. You know, it wasn't as part of the culture as it is now.
I do actually still find the second edition artwork kind of cool, though, too. I mean, like, I look back at the Spelljammer artwork, and it's not great, but it still has a lot of essence to it and a lot of flair. I mean, it's like, yes, they're getting really great professional artists to do really awesome pictures of various things, and it's very different than, you know, previous editions, but still, it's enjoyable. I think I like the art.
It's no D&D Voltron.
D&D Voltron, which I have nowhere near us to show that picture off.
Yeah, I know.
Was just a picture one of our friends drew with all of our characters standing on top of each shoulders in a human-like form, with all the various, like, NPCs and animals that we purchased, or you purchased and owned, in a game I run, and it was hilarious.
Yes.
I'll probably have to grab that picture just so I can, like, show it to the camera at some point in time, or upload it and then, like, show window capture of that one.
With our powers combined.
Yeah. Good times, good times. Anyway, so yeah, Bestiaries. I'm happy for it, but then again, also, yeah, it's Bestiary 6. It's like, I'm like, what was in 5 and what was in 4 that stood out? It's like, I can think of some monsters from some of them, but it's sort of like thinking of like everything in them. I do like that I'm getting a new selection of stuff, because like when I was really working hard and designing my own adventures, I would just be like, I want this type of monster, and I can go to a list of them. But the truth is, I think there are certain lists that just do not have enough stuff. You know, there's certain creature types which I definitely, let me just adjust my microphone here, would want some more creature types from, well, this was like a couple years ago anyway, so they might have put stuff out. I don't know if Bestiary 5 came out since then.
Right.
Since I last looked at the list. Alright, well, that's fun. We talked about the news for this week. Why don't we dive headlong into our year-end extravaganza tabletop review, where we're going to talk about the role-playing games of the year. There's really only 3 I want to particularly mention, and 2 I want to sort of side mention, because they're the ones that we talk about the most. I'm sure there is a lot of other role-playing game systems and role-playing games that have come out, and I know there's been other new role-playing game systems, but I'm going to try to dive into some more of those when it comes to gathering the roles, and we'll talk about them more in next year. So I'm going to try to expand my repertoire of role-playing games I'm going to be talking about, because then it might make the news a little longer than it has been.
Yes, the last one was a little bit on the short side.
There've been a couple that have been on the short side, especially for this time of year.
Yeah, because not a lot of companies are coming out with stuff because it's around Christmas.
Which it might be the same next year, but still, you know. So, of course, let's start with D&D. So there have been, 4 major books that came out this year. Well, let's call it 3, because Dungeonology was sort of a side thing. We had, maybe also Sword Coast Adventures, Curse of Strahd, Storm King's Thunder, and Volo's Guide to Monsters. And then, of course, we sort of had Dungeonology on the side. That's a pretty big amount of stuff. Granted, it's not a lot of books, but we have 2 big adventures that came out this year. Curse of Strahd, where we've introduced...
Which has been fun.
Oh, it's been wonderful. And introducing Ravenloft. Storm King's Thunder, which I haven't had a real chance to look at, but it has its own popularity with, fighting against giants and stuff. And it seems to connect up to their Mines of Feligram adventure in the Beginner's Book, which is really cool. Volo's Guide to Monsters, where it's introducing new races. I mean, that in and of itself, I think, has opened up a lot of stuff.
Oh yeah, that's really cool.
I mean, we might not get a lot new classes. At most, we might get new, archetype stuff, with the Unearthed Arcanas that you can be using. That might be the big thing we're going to get for there. But races, That's a really cool thing to open up. And it actually makes a lot of sense for most of these races. Because they're things that you find. And a lot of them, yes, you can fight. But, playing an orc, playing a goblin, that's cool.
Yeah. No, it definitely opens up a new another aspect for the game.
And I think... I can't remember a lot of what was in Sword Coast Adventures, but that added a couple more new things, too, to it, I remember. That are very interesting, and it's supposed to taking you, they've had a big focus on Faerun, it feels like, because I think Storm King's Thunder is in Faerun, and Sword Coast Adventures, it's for Faerun. But of course, yes, we've been introduced to Ravenloft again, with Curse of Strahd. It makes me excited for whatever new worlds are going to be introduced next year for D&D. I think it's been a great year for 5th edition.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't put nearly about as much material as Paizo out, but they put out really high quality, really popular material, and kind of maintain it. And I think that's been what they've been trying to focus on, is just being...
Yeah, instead of like in previous editions where they put out tons and tons of okay material, they're focusing on putting out a decent amount of really high quality material.
Yep. And so it has been really fun, though. It's been interesting. And I've been happy that 5th edition's been around this year. I think that's been one of the ones that, when we're talking about the role-playing games, I didn't have a lot of chance before this year to play around with it. And now that I've been really hitting it and adventuring with it and running it and stuff, I've been really happy about it.
Yeah. I think we did, some out-of-the-box stuff last year.
At the end of last year.
Yep. Yeah, and kind of experimented around with it a little bit. But this year is where we really dove into it, and it's a great system.
Yep, it's been a fun system. Not to say I don't like going back to Pathfinder occasionally, but, I mean, it's been the system that I think I've had the most fun running something out of a book from.
Right.
Because I think it's got the best tools for customization. Better tools than they do have in Pathfinder. Pathfinder runs... awesome stories for their adventure paths, for their modules. I love their stories. I love their settings, but I feel like they're harder to put your own personal twist to without figuring out how you're going to balance things a little more.
Right.
Definitely Curse of Strahd is really open ended. I could have sent you to Castle Ravenloft right away. You got an invite.
We would have lynched you.
Well, no. The thing is, you could have got an invite to a dinner with Strahd. I mean,
literally have a dinner with Strahd.
You can get that right away, and it's well, this is creepy. The Lord of the Land is introducing himself to us.
I don't want to sit down and have dinner with Strahd.
I don't know why not. You'll have an enjoyable dinner.
We would be the dinner.
No, he's reasonable most of the time, unless you piss him off and then get murdered. But that's your own fault.
Well, with our group. I think we would be dinner.
Oh, good chance of it. You were not the group to send directly there.
No.
Oh, yeah, 5th edition, I think that's been very fun and very enjoyable. Do not mind the small girl in the background.
Is she a wizard?
No, she's not. She could. But, yep, I think 5th edition's done a very decent job of putting stuff out, and it's very high-quality stuff, and it's been very fun stuff to play with. So I'm looking forward to next year about what they're going to be putting out, and what Wizards is going to be putting out. If they've got another adventure. Small children. Wonderful.
Told you she's a wizard.
She is. But also, what other supplementary material? Follows Guide to Monsters. What's the next thing they're going to put out? Hard to say. All right, why don't we move on, though, and do talk a little bit about Pathfinder. Because Pathfinder, they spam the crap out of material that they put out. They really put a lot of material out. And it varies very differently. They have their adventure paths. They have their adventure modules. They have their campaign setting information, which is all about different aspects of Galarion, their world. They have their supplementary materials, which are based upon characters, which all their supplementary material does seem very interesting. For example, when they're talking about righteous and religious characters in the last one, one of the last ones I talked about. That's interesting. That's a different like take on things. Then, of course, they have their Pathfinder Society scenarios and their Pathfinder Society material that they put out. They just have so much stuff to put out. And the thing about it is it feels like they're spamming you with a lot of stuff, but it's very different. A module is a single adventure. Maybe it's one level. Maybe it's a couple of levels. The adventure paths are massive adventures that your campaigns that take your characters from level 1 possibly up to 20, maybe like 15 to 20, which you go on like these epic quests. And the thing is, like, I didn't realize it. They finished up one and they've done 3 adventure paths. Granted, they finished up one and started another one, but 3. Hell's Rebels, Hell's Vengeance, and Strange Aeons all this year. Strange Aeons got 4 adventures into it. I think they can release an entire adventure path one a year almost, it seems like.
Which is impressive.
Yeah. And it doesn't feel like you're getting crowded by it. Because what, it's like once a month that they put out one? I mean, granted, if we were younger and we could, I feel like we could keep up with these things very easily, you know?
Yeah, back in the day when we played several times a week and could go into the wee hours of the morning. Oh my God. We probably would be able to keep up with it and more. More.
Like nowadays, I'm glad I got.
We're lucky if we can get enough to actually run a game sometimes.
Or like for the adventure pass, like one a year at most. Yeah. Even then, you know, it's like, well, because what, like, we sort of were involved in Giant Slayer, and that's in what, like the 5th book they're in right now, and they've managed to do that, like, even without us leaving that game consistently. That's as far as they got. And it started, I think, towards the beginning of this year. I don't think it quite started last year. I think it started during the beginning of this year. I'm not 100% sure on that.
No, I think we started late last year.
It might have been late last year then. But that's almost a year, and that's one adventure we have. Like, Skulls and Shackles, we've been really terrible at keeping up with. Rise of the Rune Lord's almost done. I finished up Carrion Crown. I mean, that's 4 out of all their adventure paths, which I have so many of, unfortunately, that we just haven't gotten to.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they've come out with a lot of great material. And the Curse of the Crimson Throne re-release, where they put it, like, they updated it because the original version was more closer to 3.5, and they have the new one, just like they did for Rise of the Rune Lords, the Anniversary Edition, and that's just awesome. You know, like an adventure like that, we haven't done, and I would love to run it. If I had a place to run it.
Yes.
If I had a place to run it, I think I would love to do it. But no. Yep. There's been some great stuff that's come out from Pathfinder. And even all their other materials. The Pathfinder Society scenarios, if you're in the Pathfinder Society, those are great little things. Little adventures you can do. The adventure modules, I've run a few of them. They're always fun, interesting. Some of them are harder than others, and definitely harder to put the atmosphere together, but they're fun. And all the campaign settings and other things like that, those are really awesome. I mean, come on. Like, I always like the amount of material that they put out introducing places in Golarion is insane. But they're almost like they're competing with what D&D has done with Faerun. You can look up so much stuff in Faerun, but it's been since, what, I think 2nd edition it was introduced. The original, the first version of AD&D.
Yeah.
So, yeah. They have put out so much material for Faerun over the years. And so, yeah, they're like trying to... and they only have Golarion, rather than all these other worlds that D&D's put together, too. And all these other world settings. So they're giving so much material on it, and it's really enjoyable to see it all.
Definitely. Oh, yeah, definitely.
It's like each one introduces like a new portion of the world, which is interesting. So it's like I can't complain about their spam of material almost. It's a great spam of material, but it is a spam of material though, definitely. So it's like I can't deny that at all.
Right.
All right, I did want to talk about briefly Shadowrun. Shadowrun, the big thing I think they came out with this year is Shadowrun Anarchy. Their simpler version of the rules, which I unfortunately haven't been able to delve fully into, but I do like the idea of it more than anything. because Shadowrun's rules, it's one of the more complex game systems. It really is. I mean, I'm like 38 episodes in, and I've nowhere near the end of the book in talking about Shadowrun stuff.
Right.
I just recorded I just have an episode for today, which I put out, where we're beginning to talk about the wireless world. And I have to talk about...
That's its own thing in itself.
Yeah! It's like I get like through 2 or 3 pages of materials in one script, and I'm at like 10 minutes then of talking about it. And I try to edit out material as much as I can, but it's sort of like I can only skip so much without giving all the information I need to about these things. Right. You know? I can't just... You can only... It's very information heavy.
Yeah, it like you said, it is a very, very complex system. It has multiple layers to it. It's fun, and it's a great system. It's definitely more for advanced role players.
Yes. And it's had some great role-playing moments, too. It's just it's a system that's really interesting setting, really complex character creation, and system to play in.
Yeah.
So... No, I do think Shadowrun Anarchy is a very interesting thing. I might want to try it out sometime, but it's sort of like I'm used to the complex system already, and I know the players I normally get for it, if I would run again, are used to the complex system. So, I don't know.
Right. It'll be interesting to see, but it'll be an adjustment for everyone.
Yep. And I do want to briefly mention 2 other things for our year-end review. It seems like our year-end review is not quite like a huge thing, but, you know, we're just going over the basics of what's happened in the year in role-playing. And as I said, next year will probably be more insane than ever.
Well, yeah, plus, you know, the channel, us doing this stream is still relatively new. You know, we haven't compiled a year's worth of stream yet either of going over things. So yes, by the time next year comes around, we'll probably have a lot more to go over.
And more guests.
Yes.
Andrew is great, and I'm hoping to have him back in the next year when he's got a little bitty schedule. His Kickstarter was successful.
Oh, great.
Yep.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yep. I managed to get a little bit in there too myself. So maybe I'll run some of those adventures that he's going to be coming up with. Those seem neat. But yes, so I did want to briefly touch on 2 systems which I've seen maybe not the largest resurgence of, but some resurgence. World of Darkness, Vampire the Masquerade, 25th anniversary this year. 25 years. It's pretty epic, you know.
Makes me feel old.
Yeah, it kind of does. You know, it's the 20th anniversary, came out some time ago. That's the new book that Onyx Path is, and from now diving into it, Onyx Path is doing a great job keeping the old system and the new systems alive and building up a new following of material. And I like a lot of what they're doing. I'm going to be glad that in the future they're going to continue putting out books and materials on it. It's a system that, you know, it's being kept alive, and
yeah,
it has some good popularity still. Yep, definitely. And White Wolf, like, I didn't even realize it. Like, it was a news story someone pointed out, which I'll be talking about next week. For Vampire Masquerade, The Eternal Struggle, their card game, at like the big event that's going to be in Berlin next year, White Wolf has approved like 100 like test cards for it. The system is alive online. It's like dead in print form, but it's sort of still alive in a way. And that's going to be the next one I'm going to talk about after Spellfire, though, too.
Is that like Alpha's back in Pog form?
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about the Forgotten CGs of past, you know, with Spellfire. Yeah. And, you know, it's not a printed one anymore, but it's sort of like forgotten yet not. Because it's like Spellfire, I didn't know this until I found it out. You can actually get, for virtual tabletop, Spellfire. So you can play it, like, on Steam. Huh. Yeah, you can like purchase and download like a lot of the Spellfire cards. I think it's in one big pack, but still.
Hey, you know, when you're talking about retired card games, I have the Star Trek one.
It's on the list. I'm going like time wise because literally the vampire game, the first incarnation of it, was the 3rd CCG ever released.
Wow. Well, if you need to borrow any of my Star Trek cards,
I sort of know where some of mine are. I'll have to look again. I don't usually use my actual cards as like a show off, but I'm probably going to get to a point in talking about these games that I'm not going to have the cards for them anymore.
Well, like I said, if you need to borrow it, I have a decent sized collection of them, and I know what they are.
Maybe if we can figure out a thing, we could like play a game on stream or something. I don't have enough Spellfire cards to do
look up the rules again.
I had to relearn the rules for Spellfire. I actually found a copy of the 4th edition rules because I only had like the 1st edition and 2nd edition rules. So it's sort of like, well, they had a 4th edition of it that came out. So it's like learning the 4th edition rules. It's like, oh, okay, this is how it works the same and here's how differently. They like introduced card types that I never played with. I didn't play with thieves and like regents and stuff. I only had the 4 basic champions, and they introduced like 3 other types of them by the end of the game's, lifespan that I didn't even know about. So it's really interesting. Yep. But no, yeah. So there's great stuff coming in the Vampire, and I've been happy about the resurgence of Earth Dawn. It's the game system I barely played. I love one of the most. I've literally played in it once, a pretty full game. Second time for a very brief game, and since then. And this was back in the early 2000s. So it's been fun relearning the new version of the rules. Well, one of the new versions of the rules. I know there's an edition after the one I've been talking about, which I will update you, just like with Shadowrun. I will talk about what the 5th edition is after I'm done going over the 4th edition book. 5th edition is just a slight evolution, so it'll be very small episodes, but it'll be fun to talk about, definitely. But yes, so Earth Dawn, very happy about that. And I know there's a whole lot of other role-playing game systems. I've done a lot of great stuff this year that I'm hoping next year we can talk about more. I can become more familiar with, learn a bit more about, and describe to you. Because I've been going with my expertise as of now, especially with Gathering the Roll. As I learn more places, talk about the new systems coming out, talking about all these experimental systems, I'll try to go over them a little bit more. So we might have a much larger year-end review next year. Got to stick with what we know for now.
Right. Well, that's a place to start.
Exactly. All right, so I want to move on from there, and let's start with the stories from the tabletop, because that's where we want to do. I think it's like tweet this. Stories from the tabletop. Oh, whoops. Sorry, interruption. It's like I have to come up with, I probably should set this up on my computer and do this, that I can set it up for these or something different.
And just push a button and be like, okay, now that's done.
Yeah.
Well, today got a little foobarred anyway, so.
Yeah. It really did. Man. My entire week has been kind of foobarred, though, with family and stuff and all that things and the holidays. So I'm glad I got enough work done and I relatively kept up the schedule. My Magic History video this week was epic. I recorded 45 minutes and edited it down to what it is now. It edited down to 23 minutes, but I had 45 minutes of recordings that I edited down. It was really just like, and it was like 90 images I'm overlaying into the video. I think it was almost 100. Yeah. Oh my God. Mercadian Masks, you were my bane. I'm going to be so happy for next week's. Next week's is going to be so much easier. I already know which one. It's Battle Royale, which is like one of the small extension sets, like of decks, that they just produced.
Right.
Man, so much easier. Going to be so glad for that after this week's. It pushed Spelljammer to yesterday. Oh, so many hours. Anyway, so stories from the table. Let's start with it. So this year, I think Joe. Unfortunately, you didn't have a lot of running a game advice. And last time we talked about games we played in. This year, I want to talk about the games I ran, because I ran we'll say 4 games. 4 games this year, I think. No, it's actually 5. I'm going to say 5 because I'm going to include, because I don't know exactly when we started Giant Slayer. It might have been late last year, but just in case, I'll mention the game I ended at before that one, which was our Sunday game. What are you looking for?
$1 million.
I don't know. Something's going on in the background. I hope I don't need to help. I might need to, but we'll see. Sorry, folks, if something... And Joe will entertain you with a little dance or something. He can be our dancing monkey.
Hey, Dr. Zayas could make an appearance then.
Dr. Zayas. No, we're not gonna dive into possible.
Well, you know what? I'm talking about my character.
I know you're talking about your character, but I don't want to dive into copyright song and anything. You know. Yes. Okay, so I've had games on Sundays, and I've had games on Saturdays this year. So my Sunday game, which again, we don't know if necessarily when we started Giant Slayer and when it ended, you know. That's really hard to tell. It probably was last year. But my last Sunday game, which was... It was a game I wrote myself, which I would like to get back to running and probably publish at some point in time. So it was fun, but, you know, I was writing it at the same time I was running it. And I was writing it for publication, which is a lot harder than writing it for just people playing it.
Right.
Oh, so much more. And I got burned out on that one. That one was just a kick to my pants. And I was just coming up with really stupid plans at the end of that one. And it was sort of like I was glad to be over with it.
Also the group we were playing with was an interesting dynamic and had its own weird issues too. So you're trying to deal with that and writing for a publication. Yeah, it's a lot.
And it came into the problems of, you know, Rob and Justin, which are very interesting players, but have their own dynamics. And especially Justin, who we've talked about in the past, he plays and runs games a way vastly different than I like playing
than our
them.
brains can comprehend.
And I wasn't trying to run a hack and slash dungeon crawl, and he wanted a hack and slash dungeon crawl where death is an option all the time, and if he comes back, and character development is not important, and role playing is not important.
Right.
It's an unfortunate thing, but
that's not the way we play.
Well, I've played
for the most part.
It's not a bad thing to have, but he wants it like 100% no role playing, and that just didn't gel very well with me.
Yeah, especially with what you're trying to run.
But the problem was also a little bit, you know I was getting off track, which he was mentioning.
Yeah.
And my headphones fall down. Okay. Then we get into I didn't run anything during the week. I didn't run anything during Fridays. Not really. I started running this year my Treasures of the Lost Legion. That was a Sunday one. That will be a Sunday one. I'm hoping either next week or the week after that we can finally start getting back into prequels. Just with the holidays, the players that I'm trying to get just have been busy. Unfortunately.
Oh yeah, and it makes sense.
And I want to live stream their adventure too. I was hoping Sundays, but you know I might have to throw them into the week. So I'll try to work that out the next week. So hopefully we'll have some more of those up soon. If I can get them all out in like 1 week or something, I totally will, so that we can get the adventure started.
Awesome.
Yep. But Saturday games. So I have had, we'll call it actually 4 games of Saturday. I had my Shadowrun I tried to do, which...
Yes. Unfortunately, as Shadowrun in our group tends to happen, we play a few sessions and people dwindle off.
Well, I didn't have the correct players. Like I had Justin for that one. He didn't like Shadowrun.
Yeah.
You know, that was one thing about it. So I lost some players. It was hard to keep it together. Introducing players like midway just wouldn't work very well. So the game fell apart. I had my Pathfinder one-shot adventures, where I would take one of the single-level adventures, run it for a session. That was the point of it. possibly 2 sessions if it really mattered, but I was trying to do 1 session in adventure. Those were a mixed bag. Some of them were great. Others were terrible.
Well, and theirs aren't completely over. It's just our one player, Mike, who happens to be my boss, hasn't been able to join in for them for a while.
And he was the best person we had for them. I say, like, the 2 of you together with Megan or one of our other players was excellent.
That we only got to do 1 session with all 3 of us like that, but it was one of the best sessions we've had in a long time because, one, it was an infusion of new people, and everyone in that group listened to each other and worked off each other.
Yes. I ran like 2 or 3 other adventures, one of them which really fell apart, one of which fell apart because of stupidity character, and one of them which went well.
I wonder which one you're talking about with that one.
Vigilante. The Vigilante.
Yes, I know.
Yes. The worst character that could have been made for that game ever.
It's just the character that didn't make sense for any game other than maybe a joke game.
I could have seen him sort of in a serious game, but he didn't play him serious enough.
No. I'm sorry, you're breaking through every window possible just to break through it.
He also was abusing Pathfinder, which was an unfortunate thing. He found he found his little thing, which was technically perfectly legal, well-ish, and he was abusing the crap out of it.
How much damage was he able to do? I mean,
it was all non-lethal, but it was like twice the number of dice he should have had. He should have been doing 3d6. I think he was doing 68. He rose it to.
Yes, and the thing was, okay, even if it's non-lethal, it was still early on, and he was doing that much damage, which non-lethal damage spills over into lethal damage. So he was still killing people with non-lethal damage horrifically.
And he was able to like get sneak attacks in with attacks of opportunity or something.
Yeah, why? Because he moved past someone. It's like, oh, I sneak attack this person on top of just hitting them and doing extra damage because I moved past you.
And it's a free hit. No, it was an abuse of the system.
Yeah.
It was a horrible abuse of the system that I should have never allowed, but I was not familiar with vigilantes very much and didn't really understand their abilities because it was a new thing to our group. And so he took advantage of that. I have been taken advantage of a couple of times with characters like that, and I don't like it.
No. And you know, you trust
it's the same couple of people.
And you tend to trust these people because they're also DMs in other games, and it's like, well, you've read up on it, I'll believe you. And then it's like, wait, that doesn't seem right.
No. And as I've said now, with talking to that same person, cough, cough, Chad, DM's word is law, and whatever someone says, it should be for that game. They can say different things in different games. You can try to discuss it with the DM. It should make sense. The only thing I kind of like, there are a few times that I even feel as a player, you should talk to the DM about it, especially if it's a decision which is specifically negative to the players, which will never come up on the player's side. Then you're just kind of being a dick, which unfortunately Chad has done in the past. He's made decisions for DM decisions which adversely affect us players and will never affect his monsters. A decision like that should go both ways. It should be equivalent. You should draw on it in a way that affects both players and you as a GM equivalently, and that's a better decision. Unfortunately, Chad gets very standoffish at times. I think I've done that before, but I'm trying to learn not to do that. Yes, my word should be law, but I should make good laws.
Right.
It
has to be it needs to be a balance.
Two-way street.
Yeah.
I've managed to get down and got rid of a lot of my argumentativeness nature when it comes to rules and stuff. I really have, and I try to step away a lot. It's hard though sometimes.
It's hard when you have someone who's DMing and you're playing with them and they're making a decision that's obviously detrimental to the players just to be detrimental to the players.
Yeah. But those are our Pathfinder games, which hopefully we'll get back to soon. Then we have Curse of Strahd. Curse of Strahd has been one of my favorite things to run in a while. Crazy crap happens. Awesome action set pieces. And you guys have gone, like, I watched through, which I do have to finish up the last couple of episodes, a lot of the dice camera action of Chris Perkins, one of the writers of Curse of Strahd, running it. And showing how it can go quite different from anyone else's. Because his storyline, vastly different than, like, anything you could have thought about. And mine has ended up just as crazy and ridiculous, and I love every part of it.
We have done some very interesting things. And I can't wait till we can play again when we have people.
The holidays have tanked out our ability to play very badly because Saturdays have, of course, been right around the holidays. Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, of course. Nah, Curse of Strahd has been wonderful, and I think that's been it's invigorated a lot of my love of being a game master / dungeon master. That, you know, you get burned out sometimes, because I got so burned out for a while, and I've been glad to get back to it now. You know, I've been glad to jump into it as much as I have with this.
Yeah.
I have also quite enjoyed, of course, Vampire the Masquerade, and the adventure we've had that. We don't run it very often. It's maybe like once a month. We seem to do it, you know. It won't probably be this month just because of the schedule, unfortunately. It'll probably be like, you know, we'll be skipping this month because we did lose a lot of stuff this entire, you know, December with schedules. Because what was also like finals and tests, too, tanked us out a little bit.
Yes, because we do have some younger players.
Yep. Mm-hmm. But Vampire has been really enjoyable. You guys have had one fight, and you're about to have your second fight ever, and you're like 5 sessions in. It has been pure role-playing and the best of forms. Crazy crap has happened. You guys... There has been some bad stuff, like a grenade in the shop.
God. I don't know what he was smoking that day.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Hey, I wasn't even involved in this mission, but I perceive that you screwed over my friends, even though they didn't look for any alternative.
Oh, and I've known them for like a couple of days.
So I'm going to throw a grenade in your shop. Yep. And you're a wizard, so I know you'll survive, so it's not really a life-threatening thing to you.
Yeah.
No. Bad etiquette. And, by the way, you're the person who was sent by the king...
Prince, I'm
sorry. Ugh, wrong thing. Prince, to watch over us to make sure we don't do anything stupid. I'm just glad I was out sitting in the car when all that went down.
Yep.
I had left the building and was not part of the stupidity.
Yeah. And I just sort of ignored it. Because
which we thank you for, because that could have given us a lot of bad repercussions.
Mm-hmm. Oh no, he earned bad repercussions, and I'm probably going to still do something about it, but down the line.
And it's not going to punish the entire group, probably.
No, it's going to be more focused around him than anybody else.
Which is what it should be.
Yep. That's the plan. He earned that plan.
But then we've had crazy fun things like trying to steal a werewolf heart from a professor, and then
who collects occult objects. Yeah.
Yes, and then end up one of my flaws is I have an enemy, and we ended up pinning up the enemy on stealing a bunch of stuff that one of our characters stole from his office.
Oh.
It's probably going to have bad repercussions on me.
Oh, yeah. He's like enemy level 2 now, I think, instead of level 1.
Which sucks, because I also took the flaw of having a ward, which we haven't even dealt with yet.
Nope. Which I had plans for coming up soon, you know?
Oh, I'm sure you do. I took 2 flaws that really can play off each other very well.
I've checked everybody else's flaws just to make sure what they were. I know Megan's the only one that doesn't have any because I'm like, skip that, you're a beginner. Let's not deal with this shenanigans. Nope. It's been fun. Vampire's been fun one to run, and I've been loving the role-playing aspect of it. It's been great to get back to. My writing hasn't been up to snuff, but I haven't needed to. I feel like it's the one I've been best at improvising crazy crap at.
And we kind of get in our own situations.
Oh my god, it makes it so easy. I put it like together like 3 sentences about what I want to do for a topic, and then I'm like, well, here you go. I've got a basic idea. What are you going to do?
Chad with the cat.
Oh my god, Chad with the cat was wonderful and stupid at the same time. I resolved it really quickly. But,
yes.
You know, I just was like, I'm done with this. You guys have gone on the dumbest plans for this entire thing.
I was against it. I was trying to keep people focused on the main thing, and Chad's like, no, I need to find this cat. It's something strange.
Well, it was because his original character was something weird, too, which
Yes.
I don't like either of his characters, but whatever.
His first one was just not even a vampire, completely off-the-wall weirdness. This one's at least a vampire, but still, why do you have to try to be so over-the-top in your creation?
Because Chad, and he knows a lot of White Wolf.
Yeah, so he's like, he finds it more fun to be on the fringe of White Wolf and find weird combinations because it entertains him more.
Yeah.
Because he's more of an advanced player. But then it makes the rest of us go, why are we even with you?
Yeah.
You're a horrible abomination.
Yeah, he kind of is. Though that's why I do like throwing him together with James's high humanity character, because it's hilarious when the two of them are together.
Well, they kind of balance each other out a little bit.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we learned not to trust Chad's character with trying to hide a dead body.
Oh my god. Oh, it's so great.
I'm just going to put you in the sand and have some limbs sticking out, but no one's going to notice it.
That was great. Oh.
Anyway.
Yep. Good stuff. Really good stuff. Oh man. Yep, we've had some great games, and I've definitely had a fun time with them. So I'm glad that things have been going as great as they have been in role-playing this year. It's been some fun stories, and definitely some interesting things going on. So, you know.
Yes. Interesting being the key word.
Yep. Oh, man. Yeah. Yep. So, it's going to be fun to definitely move on to what's going on next year, though.
Yes.
It's going to be some interesting adventures. All right, let's just see if we have any questions for Gaming Sage advice for today. As we move on to that next topic, our final topic for today, our year-end show has been finishing up. Got no extra questions. Let's see here. What's a good question we can have, since I have no idea of a question? You got one for this week?
Unfortunately, no, I do not.
God.
This week's been a real mixed bag for me.
I was hoping by now I'd get some people actually like leaving comments of some questions for Gaming Sage advice, but nope. And it's been so hard to keep coming up with them that are decent discussion questions about something we can talk about for like 10 minutes. No, you know what? I got a good one. What do we think about early CCGs, and because we talked about this a little bit, and the evolution of collectible card games as a whole? This is a little like, I think this is more like a discussion topic, but whatever. No, we can ask it as a question, sort of.
I mean, I haven't done a lot of other card games other than Magic. I've done a little bit of the Star Trek one, but I don't have the experience really with other ones.
Yeah, I got some good... but no, I'll talk about something else in a second. But no, yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with various different ones, but nothing bigger than Magic. You know, it's little ones that I maybe, like, delved into, checked out a little bit, like...
Oh, I can think of one.
What?
Oh, God, now I can't think of the name of it. It's on the other side of the room. Card building, kind of collectible, but also deck building game.
Netrunner.
Netrunner.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because it's like a lighter version of it. It's a new version of a card game that's not quite collectible, but partially collectible.
Well, yeah, because there's a lot of expansion that you can add to decks and create new decks with and stuff. But the weird aspect of that one, too, is it's only 2-player. There is no multiplayer form of it because it's an expansion. It's a collectible card game off of the one role-playing game we were just talking about that you like to run.
Oh, Shadowrun.
Shadowrun. It's kind of, it's basically based off the computer world in Shadowrun.
Yeah.
And so you have a netrunner, a hacker, basically, who's trying to hack into a corporation, and the other player plays the corporation, defending the corporation. Mm-hmm. And the whole point is who's successful in either staving off the attacks or attacking the corporation. And that one's an interesting one. I put it in the collectible realm just for the simple reason they do have a lot of extra cards, not decks, but cards you can buy as expansions. So I kind of put it in the collectible card game range. It's just a little different because instead of buying packs or something, you're buying whole kind of sets at once. It's like if Magic, instead of buying packs and getting random cards, they went the route of, oh, here's a whole set. You can buy it as a bulk. That's basically the big difference there. And you could also almost put the Pathfinder card game in that realm too.
Yeah, I think those are very interesting ones that...
It's kind of a combination.
A little bit, yeah. Nope, I do think it's definitely... those are interesting ones that are like sort of pseudo collectible card games. But yes, I agree. Very interesting.
Yeah, they're kind of in the realm, but a different take on them.
Yep. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So, why are you popping there?
Oh, I wanted to mention going back on last week's topics for just a moment.
Okay.
There was one board game that we didn't mention that we tried out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was Star Trek Castle Panic, the 50th anniversary of the original series. Did a deal with the creators of Castle Panic and kind of combined the worlds. So instead of you're defending a castle, you're defending the Enterprise. And that one was definitely a unique take on Castle Panic.
Yep, cool. Yep, some very cool stuff that came out this week, or came out this year, I should say.
Yes. But I figured I'd throw that out there since it was one that we thought about after the fact and was definitely worth a mention because if you like Castle Panic, it's definitely a different take on it and really worth a look at.
Yep. Cool. I did want to say, I'll probably be listening to some suggestions I've heard lately that I'm going to take into account. It's just going to be hard to work on some of them. I've been trying to speak a little slower because someone was watching one of my videos and saying, I was drafting on a bit. And I know I can. I can get a little fast in the way I speak. I do agree with that. So I'm going to try to help with that. So if anybody has any kind of complaints about that they haven't been saying, sorry, I will be trying to improve that. Some of the other things is I probably will alter my recording setup at some point in time. I don't have a great place to record at. I know there's a lot of little things in my background and the lighting's not the best. So lighting maybe better. The distractions, maybe a few less. I know I really overdid it a little bit in the kind of crud that I put behind me on my shelf. and put up posters and stuff. Yeah, just a little bit. So yeah, I might try to like
dial it down a little.
Yeah, I think I do need to. It's like they point someone points it out, you're like, yeah, that's a bit crazy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So okay. Anyway, all right, folks. I think we've done a decent job running today. We are running a little lower on time again, but I think I do want to end it a little early because I do have some work I want to get done, and unfortunately, I'm still going to be busy over the rest of the weekend, and I'm hoping to be able to set up to get videos out so I don't have to make any work tomorrow, maybe. Because I will be away most of the day anyway, visiting family. So, yep, that'll be my last thing for holiday season, and then we can get back to more of a normal schedule. Ooh. So,
yay!
I know. And maybe next week we can get some guests again. As I said, I didn't invite any guests this week. So the video should be the normal schedule. I'm going to put the last week's Discussing Tabletop up today. I just didn't get it out this week because I got so busy. I kept forgetting to whenever I had a chance to. So yeah, that'll come out today. Probably that's going to thing I'm going to upload first thing next. That'll give me time to finish up the other videos for later on today. Other than that, as I said, Treasures of the Lost Legion, next prequel should be coming out soon. I should be having some more live streams again. I just haven't had the time to live stream over the past couple of weeks, just with the schedule I've built in. I'm hoping to get a couple more in, and I will get the last live stream I did, the Don't Starve up. The only reason I haven't uploaded it is because I haven't had a thumbnail to put with it, and I have no ideas what to build for a thumbnail for something completely different than what any other stuff I did. Like, for doing things like the Warriors of the Eternal Sun, I had a thumbnail I put together for that. You know? I can just sort of use the old ones. Right. Though I hope everybody has looked at the new little banners and thumbnails I put together. You know,
I think you've been doing a good job with that.
Those have been pretty good. I redid the werewolf one that I had made together because I did not like the first one I did. The first one was way too bright and green. So I do evolve them as I need to. So, yep, put together the thumbnails. Great looking, great. All right, so I think we'll call it for this week. We'll be here, hopefully back to our normal time next week. Any other schedule changes, I will inform you of as time comes by. So next week will be the first of the new year. We will have some news stories to talk about. We'll probably dive in deeper to that Vampire the Eternal Struggle story when I can give a little more information about that. We might talk about that card game a little bit. A little preview of what's to come on the channel eventually. Basically, probably by the end of the month, I'm going to guess. Because I don't know how far Spellfire will go. I was only aiming for maybe like 5 episodes around there. So we'll see how far it really goes. Talking about the rules might take more than 1 episode. Maybe take more than 3 episodes. What I was thinking it would. Right. We'll see. All right, folks. So I guess that'll be it for this week. As I said, VOD will be up. Hopefully this one will be up early next week rather than late this week. So... And
okay, well, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, well, Happy New Year, everyone, and see you next year.
Yep, definitely see you next year for another exciting, we'll see if we can get to another 52 episodes of Discussing Tabletop. You know, I think there's only 1 week we might cancel out, and maybe I'll be able to do something with that. My time going to PAX, I don't know. We might just reschedule it for like earlier in the week or something. I don't know, like late for entirely different time. Right. We'll see. We'll see what we do. Anyway, until the next time, folks, I bid you farewell.